And we are live. Hello, everybody. Still got to figure out how I can see who's in here. Did it come through okay?
Okay, it's all working and good.
Okay, can you? Are you going to share it?
No, I meant the thing. I'm opening that and getting that fixed now.
Okay.
For you.
Thank you. I really can't. I don't see who. Can you see who's in here?
It shows 2 watching now. Started streaming 91 seconds ago, so I'm assuming
It's just us two.
Me and you.
Okay. Well, I know this is my first time going live on this channel, so we might have to end it short, or if no one comes on, and I can do a pre-recording.
Yeah, either way. But let me. I'm getting this up off my email. It did come in, so. Yeah, this will look real good. Okay.
Yeah, I spent about 8 hours on that thing yesterday.
Do you have your YouTube open?
No, I'm just in StreamYard.
Okay, you don't have your YouTube channel on, and I'm getting a little bit of echo. It may be mine. I'll make sure mine's muted, but
it might be my microphone picking you up.
okay, I'm almost done getting this squared away. Let's see. Create PDF.
Hello, I don't recall. How are you? Hello, I don't recall. Am I sounding muffled, Travis?
No, you sound loud and clear.
I'm gonna turn my mic down just a little bit. So for everybody that comes on tonight and watches the replay, Travis and I are in here tonight. We're discussing what I would call the backstory of Ashley Garth, and I feel it's important to discuss her story in her words. And her and I have gone over extensively this document that I've put together and information that I feel and she feels is important to share in regards to things that were transpiring in her life leading up to March of 2019, which is March of 2019. On March 29th is when Nicole Bowen was murdered. And for those of you who are new to the case, Ashley was one of 5 charged with the murder of Nicole Bowen. And Ashley emphatically declares that she is innocent. And we are working on her case. We are working on compiling all of the documentation that we can get our hands on to help her with her post-conviction relief efforts. I personally feel that with everything that I've researched and things that I have looked into and the documents that we have, and going over interrogation videos, transcripts, and there's still a lot more that we have yet to get our hands on. I believe, based on everything that Ashley has provided me, every direction that she sent me in, I have been able to verify and clarify that what she's telling me is true. So from my personal opinion, I believe Ashley Garth is innocent of the crime that she was charged of. And we will eventually and hopefully down the road be able to divulge everything that we have compiled in this case and share with you. There are some things right now that we cannot, because we do not want to jeopardize her chances of being successful in her post-conviction. Travis, do you want to add anything?
Sorry, working on a couple of other things for you in the background. No, I think you kind of gave a really good synopsis. You covered everything I wanted to cover. It's a little bit different than what maybe people have seen in the past, like with Making a Murderer or other things, in that why it's different is when, for example, Making a Murderer 1 came out, the direct appeals were already filed and pretty much over. MAM 2 came out, all of the post-conviction PCR, we'll call them. PCRs had been filed, were in process. And this one's a little bit different because that process hasn't started yet. And so, yeah, like you said, you don't want to jeopardize anything that her PCR attorney might be able to do. And so you can comment on what's already public and whatnot, but things that might end up in the PCR, the attorney needs to evaluate that information and go over it before it's talked about. Obviously, anything that gets filed along the way, we can talk about what the meaning is legally or the factual background and whatnot. But you've done quite a remarkable job in getting quite a remarkable amount of information in just a very relatively short amount of time. It's very impressive. And I think to kind of give the backstory, you've called it, is important because, as you know, I am always saying context is everything. And the only way you can put a context to this information is to have the backstory. But that's what I had to say.
Do you want to put that up on the screen? And I can get started. And what I've done is I've compiled, it's about 13 pages. So I do want to get started in discussing what I call the backstory, which is documented information that ranges from the year of 2017 to the year of 2019. And for anyone watching the replay or is not familiar with this case was a very highly profiled case in Indiana out of Newton County during the investigation of the Delphi murders. And the individual that was Ashley's ex-boyfriend at the time was very much so a person of interest in the Delphi murders, which obviously, from what you guys, I'm sure, are seeing now in the news coverage, is that case is insanely complicated. But back then, when this happened in 2019, there was not anyone arrested, and there were a lot of coincidences in regards to Garrett. So there was a lot of pressure put on Ashley behind the scenes because she is from Delphi, and there was a lot of coincidences, and people really believed that Garrett may have been involved in this case of the Delphi murders, which I do not believe that he is. And I know that Ashley had no valuable information to provide for them. But it was through that she really took a beating in the media in this case. So for those of you who are not familiar with her case, that's where this kind of all started. That's where it started for me anyway. So I'm going to read to you this document, and Travis, if you can scroll with me on there, because I've got it printed, and I'll read from my printed version. It's easier for me with all of the windows that I have open. But
I've screen shared in there, but it's I'm
let me
checking
see
on YouTube, and it's
there
not.
We go. I added it. I got it.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Not on YouTube.
Yeah, well, it's being funky tonight for some reason. I can see it.
Oh, there we go.
But,
it just popped up. There we go. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll scroll with you.
Can you scroll it, or do I need to do that? Okay.
I need to probably from my end, since it's sharing from mine, but I'll be happy to do that for you.
Okay, so let's get started, and I'm going to start with some personal feelings that I wanted to share in regards to how this started and what I'm basing my information on. So in this document, the following details were compiled through messages from prison, phone calls, handwritten letters, recorded interviews, interrogation videos, FOIA requests, and conversation with family and friends. I have done the best that I can do with all the information I have to tell Ashley's story and the details or events as accurately as possible. In due time, it is my intention to fully share my research. The information I have obtained throughout my research and at the direction of Ashley and her family, the details, once all shared, will be very compelling. I feel the best way to convey everything I have discovered will best be told in the order as it happened. Through research and being able to locate documents, speaking with witnesses who were never contacted in this case, Ashley's version of events thus far have been able to be proven. Our purpose is to bring out the truth. We will be assisting Ashley in her post-conviction relief efforts. Moving forward, we will refer to this as her PCR. And as a side note, I have put in here, Indiana post-conviction relief is a legal process in which a criminal defendant challenges the legality or some portion of the criminal trial, the judgment of conviction, or the sentence on legal grounds that were unknown or unavailable in the original trial or on direct appeal.
So can I mention something right there?
Sure, yes.
So do not recall will be aware of this. Most states, you're entitled to either a public defender or an appointed attorney that the state pays for trial. Well, every state, you're entitled to an attorney for that. You're generally entitled to an attorney for your direct appeal. Most states, however, do not pay for a court-appointed or public defender for post-conviction relief counsel. And we saw that in Stephen Avery's case. He filed one on his own, and then Zellner came in later. And there was an issue about whether his post-conviction relief counsel could be deemed ineffective. In essence, that was Stephen at one point. But Wisconsin, like most states, you're not entitled to an attorney unless you pay for it, and therefore you have no claim for ineffective assistance of counsel in a PCR. Indiana, to my amazement and wonderful surprise, has provided for a long, long time that every defendant, if they want to file a PCR, they're entitled to a public defender, and it's the Indiana State Public Defender. That's what they deal with, is PCRs. And so she has an attorney. Now, the downside of that is that, and I don't know if you cover this or not, Amy. If you do, we can wait, about the delay in the PCR, but I thought we'd explain at some point what the delay is, and it's been pending a couple of years. It's because the Indiana State Defender, because they're required to represent everyone in prison who wants to file a PCR, there's a huge backlog. And so they file a document saying that they don't have time currently to investigate the case properly and want the case stayed. And that's happened in Amy's case. And she has to wait for her case to work its way up to the top of the stack. And it's been, what, Amy, 2 years or going on 2 years? Can you hear me, Amy?
Are you there? I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, I think my mic was mute that whole time. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Let me say that one more time, because I know my mic was muted. Ashley, it'll be 2 years in February that she has been waiting for her case to basically be picked up in the public defender's office. And I've been in contact with her attorney, and he's basically stated that she's not too far down in the stack. So they will be dealing and filing in her case as soon as her case, I guess, is next in line. she was smart enough and did the research enough to know almost 2 years ago in Indiana, and I'm not quite sure how it is everywhere else, but once you have filed your appeal, and if you lose the appeal, you have up to a year to file your PCR. So she knew she had to get the clock stopped. So she began to file a pro se motion, and luckily got intercepted, and her attorney filed the motion for her, and along with the PCR, he filed a stay in her case. So it is sitting right now, waiting to be picked up. That's why we are, with the help of Travis and some others, we are diligently helping prepare all this information to help speed along the process, and I'm doing a lot of legwork and reaching out and doing a lot of research on my own to save time, and because I feel that it needed to be done. And like I've said before, we can't discuss everything, but I'm not speaking out of turn when I say that there is quite a bit of things in this case that need to be addressed and looked at. So, do you want me to continue?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. So we just finished with going over the post-conviction relief in Indiana. And again, I'll reiterate, as I have stated before, I reached out to Ashley because I'm very interested in the world of true crime. Always have been pretty much all my life. All aspects of true crime, and this includes cases that have involved people who have been wrongfully convicted. To be blunt, in a wrongful conviction case, it usually means there is a guilty person walking free. I was hoping to converse with her about her case or hear information that she may have in regards to the Delphi case. And I'll admit that I did not go into this anticipating the journey that I am on now. The media had very much painted an image of a person that I expected to be heartless and vicious. That is not who I encountered. From the first message response, Ashley was very profound in her claim of being innocent. To be honest, it took me off guard. However, there was something about the way she spoke and how it literally was a floodgate of frustration, pain, fear, and the overwhelming need to convince me that the truth has not been told. I believe
you need
everyone
to put it back on my screen. It's showing. There we go.
There we go.
Perfect.
Okay. I believe everyone has a story to tell, so I began corresponding and, most importantly, listening. When I tried to share my feelings with people familiar with the case, I pretty much got the cold shoulder. Yet I had to keep listening to her. I started looking into the things she was telling me. More and more, I continued to see and find exactly what she was telling me to be true. I began to get to know her, and now I find myself working daily on her case and feel it's time to share this story. And I'm eager to share it with anyone who is willing to listen, not just Ashley, but for Nicole to get real justice. Through foul play and other credible researchers, I have followed many wrongful conviction cases. Anyone who has found themselves in my position will tell you, the case that you latch onto will forever be your case. I have to echo that sentiment. For me, this is my case. It is an uphill battle because you must unravel the story that has been embedded in the minds of all of the victims. There will be things that I cannot share right now because it could hinder our efforts to be successful in Ashley's PCR. There may be things I can touch on but fully cannot disclose. No one involved behind the scenes working on this case intends to produce more misinformation that would defeat our efforts and ruin our credibility. So I've included, this is one of an earlier messages correspondence between me and Ashley. And, it took me months and months to actually get on her call list. So every day it was nonstop back and forth. And that got to be very tedious because there's a huge message delay when you're dealing with GTL. But I will read her message. This is one of the messages that she sent me right in the very beginning, because the first couple of messages that she responded to me and were kind of, short, like, what do you want? I'm not dealing with any more people trying to hurt me, that sort of thing. So I understood. So she came back with, I do apologize. I figured it was made up I figured it was a made up name for someone I know from my past that couldn't make a GTL account using their real name for whatever reason. I'm weary about giving out information to someone I don't know for the simple fact that the last thing I need is any of my, I can barely see this, hold on, any of my words getting twisted or taken out of context and twisted around and put in false accusations. But I have a lot of truth, and my justice for all those things will come. I still am fighting and hold a lot of hope for my story, the real story, to be brought to light, because one day it will. I have very little resources to help myself in my situation other than just keep doing the next right thing. So I'm willing to accept anything that comes my way, just with caution. This is my last message credit. So for the future, I'll be needing a credit. As far as the Delphi case or any other of Garrett's shenanigans, I don't have any information on. So much as I wish I could shed light for Abby and Libby, those were the two victims in the Delphi case, I don't know. I'm not good at opening up or discussing my case, especially, and at the bottom it says, with strangers. So I thought that was a message that would kind of hit home, because that's how she feels. And Ashley wants to take this opportunity to respond throughout this case coverage to address questions, statements, and accusations made by Garrett Curts during his interviews with Sarah from Open Secrets and other rumors. Open Secrets is a YouTube channel that did jailhouse interviews with Garrett Curts, Ashley's ex-boyfriend and co-defendant in Ashley's case. That YouTube channel is still up, and it's, I don't know if you have, do you want to make a comment on that, Travis? Because it's a doozy.
I went in there and looked at some other things. Just primarily concerned about the Delphi case, and which you've already touched on, which was, a big case. It's even a bigger case now that they've made an arrest and proceeding towards trial. And seems like a lot of the main true crime YouTube content creators and podcasters are talking about that case. But there was a period of time where they didn't have an arrest. And my take on it was that these folks, right or wrong, were trying to talk to anybody and everybody in the Delphi area that might have some connection to the victims or family of the victims. But it's a small town, I think 15,000 in the whole county. And as people know that live in counties that size or even a bit larger, everybody's connected to everybody in the county. You either went to high school with somebody, you worked with somebody. I mean, everybody's connected. Anywho, so they were, they were just chasing everything that could possibly be connected. And it's not just this particular channel, but there's a couple of other YouTube channels where it just seemed to me that they were, chasing whatever they could, whether, it had much merit or not. And,
they were desperate for answers, I think. I mean, a lot of people still are in that case, and they should. I mean, it's a horrible case. It's awful.
Yeah. So they were seeing things that, I didn't see anything there. But yeah, to your point, I have the thing up now, quotes from Ashley, and
I can read those. I can read those. There are some things that Ashley throughout this journey, and when we talked, when I was discussing with her, when I was putting this together, there were some key things that I felt and she felt needed to be related to everyone who's interested in listening. A couple of quotes from Ashley. I want to be clear. I have no connections or knowledge of the murders of Abby and Libby, the case known as the Delphi murders. I have never had a conversation with anyone regarding a video or a conversation with anyone having knowledge of the murders. That was an accusation made in Open Secrets that ran rampant for a long time. I do not know Derek German, nor did he ever have anything to do with any case of mine. For anyone who's not familiar, Derek German is Libby German's father. Libby German is one of the young victims in the Delphi murders. And the rumor was always that Garrett Curts murdered Abby and Libby as revenge on behalf of Ashley, because the rumor was that Derek German had turned into a, what I guess you would call it, a police informant, and had testified against Ashley in a case that lost her custody of her son. You can go back and look at Ashley's record, and Ashley, up until this point, did not have a felony. She was dealing with some petty drug charges and driving without a license. So, and a lot of her cases were converted because, her probation, she was violating her probation. So that is an absolute unfounded rumor, and it needs to, that whole idea needs to just end right there. And the last quote in this little box here is, I have never had the opportunity to speak my truth and tell my side of things. I should have taken the stand at my trial because the truth was not being told. Moving on. Ashley trusted the advice of her attorney leading up to her trial and never spoke out publicly to address the accusations that were being made. This meant not being able to confront the lies, the fake stories, and hatred that was spreading like wildfire surrounding the tragic events of March 29th. As difficult and painful as it was, this was the advice of her attorney, and she trusted her attorney leading up to trial. Ashley knew she was innocent and believed her truth would translate through her attorney into the courtroom. Yet here we are. And how did this happen? And in the red here in this document, this is anytime you see the red, it's my personal opinion. I feel it's important to discuss the family dynamic and their feelings. They too have been painfully silent while living within and around Delphi, Indiana, where Ashley was born and raised. I have kept Ashley's family informed, up to date throughout the process of digging deep into her case. Ashley's grandmother, who is known as Ma'am, is currently raising Ashley's son. Ma'am has shed tears many times over the phone during our lengthy discussions. I have come to admire her strength and determination. Ma'am is in her mid-80s in raising her great-grandson, and her great-grandson is, I believe, turning 13 this month. Ashley's father, Toby Garth, has proven to be very protective of his daughter and has been deeply affected by all of this. I hope one day they all will be willing to share their thoughts and feelings in their own words. Right now, they are all still deeply affected by all of this and how the media, speculation, and misinformation infected every aspect of their life. He, Toby Garth, described several disturbing encounters with Garrett Curts, which over time we will discuss. Ashley states, I'm a daddy's girl. I grew up along the river. So yeah, I'm a river rat and country girl. I love fishing and boating. So there's that. That's one of Ashley's little cute lines when she's talking about things. She'll go, yeah, well, there's that. Kevin, Ashley's stepfather, has been very vocal and has shared many memories with me, including his disturbing encounters with Garrett Curts. Kevin and Ashley's mom, Lori, stay in constant contact with Ashley and have provided me with a lot of information. Ashley is in constant contact with her family, and they all have been very helpful throughout this journey. The family absolutely believes in her innocence and supports Ashley. Ma'am, Ashley's grandmother quotes, Ashley always held down a job and took care of her son. Ashley is a great mother and always did the best she could for her son. The only time Ma'am recalls Ashley wasn't with her son was while in rehab, and now because she's incarcerated. It's been horrible to hear the awful things said about Ashley. Ma'am has also shared stories of how Ashley would plan fun things for her and her son to do, educational trips she would take him on, adventures she would plan. They would go troll hunting in the woods. Ashley's son is described as being very smart, and Ashley describes him as her little genius. Ma'am states, Ashley never missed work despite the drug problem. It was remarkable how she maintained it all, but she did. And it's important to know that most of Ashley's life, Ashley did live with her grandmother. So there was an instance that Ashley uh, had I don't there's a couple of things, but Ashley had violated her probation and had to do some time in the county jail. And at that time, she had signed over temporary custody for schooling issues and whatnot. But Ashley still lived under the same roof. Um, so I thought that was important to note because I left that out of here. Ashley has provided a complete work history and detailed records of her schooling. Ashley has held a job since she was 15 years of age. These details we will get into later, but I feel it's an important part of learning who Ashley is. Ashley fully admits she became addicted to meth during the relationship with Garrett because she needed the drugs, let me switch pages here, to function and keep up. Weed and meth were something Ashley dabbled in during her late teenage years, never pills or spice. Ashley has stated she has tried spice, which is a synthetic marijuana, but it made her very sick and she couldn't do it. And in red, my feelings. One thing I have come to learn about Ashley is that even when the truth hurts her or isn't pretty, she will speak the truth. It seems being brutally honest is her nature. That is just the opinion I have come to have of her. I was a drug addict. I did stupid shit. I'm sorry, but that's the truth, is how she tells it. So I respect her for that. Do you have any comments, Travis, before I go on to the next portion of this?
No, nothing so far.
Hello, Under Your Scars. I did get your email. Thank you. Ashley and Garrett's relationship were always on again, off again, and far from solid. Garrett was not involved very much with Ashley's son, as he proclaims. He was never a role model. Garrett did not work unless doing side jobs for his dad that never lasted. He was a cheater, the type that regardless of what he was doing, he still wanted to control Ashley's life. Even when she was working, he would accuse her of cheating and then use that as an excuse to cheat himself. The abuse was getting out of hand, and Garrett became unpredictable. He would take items from the home to pawn, steal money out of her purse, and take off during the night, stay gone for days, and come back accusing her of trampling his heart, etc. He never cared about bills, went as far as taking her son's TV and gaming system to pawn or sell. Ashley would kick him out, and he would return to his family as a victim of Ashley's cruelty. All of that we will, as I go on covering this case, we'll get into all of that, but there's a lot there. That is just the brief outline and small compacted amount of information that I think tells, it kind of packs a punch, but there's a lot that went on that, I feel publicly, those that are familiar with the case, those kinds of topics need to be addressed because Ashley never had the chance to address them. And next, in my opinion, and for those that do not know, I have had communication with Garrett. I've shared a lot of that communication with Travis, and it's been documented. And I have an opinion of him, and this is just my opinion, but in my opinion, it is my opinion that Garrett is a pathological liar, a narcissist with psychopathic tendencies. He is a murderer 2 times over and views himself as the victim in every story he tells. To speak ill of Garrett will result in him going to extreme lengths to destroy your life. It's equivalent to sticking your hand in the dish of a starving, aggressive dog. Be prepared to get attacked. And that is exactly how I feel about him. And Travis, do you have a comment about that after everything that you've seen?
He's interesting guy. That's for sure.
Ashley states, for a while I was able to stand my ground and defend myself, but over time his violence became more than I could defend. Garrett on drugs was a mean person, aggressive and unpredictable. He would become violent. Hindsight's 2020, Ashley states from the Indiana Women's Prison. The relationship with Garrett was bad. He was abusive and he was very heavy into drugs long before we ever met. And Garrett states in many interviews, messages, and correspondences that he began experimenting with drugs at the age of 12. I personally know that Garrett always blames everyone else for his behavior. He lies to make excuses. After all of his accusations and blaming Ashley for his behavior, Garrett was recently asked, and this is a copy of the message from Garrett. I think you might have to scroll up, Travis. Garrett was asked, because he likes to say Ashley was bad for me. So when he was asked, why was Ashley not good for you? And he wants to reiterate that he's missing her son. Do you keep in contact with the little boy? Leave or get clean, she'd tell me. She'd keep her son for me. And no, unfortunately, I have not spoken to her son since 2019, and it breaks my heart. That's what he says. From black eyes, several broken noses, and bruised all over, to eventually a broken arm. Ashley quotes, I realize now I had submitted to allowing myself to be abused. She wrote that in a letter to me in June of 2023. In front of people, behind closed doors, emotionally and physically, I became submissive because it was easier to not argue or object versus just a fist to the face. The frequency of the abuse was so often that looking back through Facebook posts, she simply stopped trying to hide the black eyes and bruises. Garrett's family actually at one point planned a secret intervention to get him off of Spice. Ashley states Garrett was more than mad after his family confronted him, so he took off and refused to have contact with them for months. Garrett was not permitted to stay or live with Ashley since she was living with family. They did not allow him in their home. So Garrett and Ashley arranged for him to sleep at a friend's house in the backyard in a tent. And that was something that he had discussed in Open Secrets. And her and I had just recently talked about that. And based on what he said, a quote from Ashley is, I had my son. I was not or ever lived in a tent, period. Toby Garth, Ashley's dad, has stated, Ashley, he was hell-bent on keeping Garrett away from his daughter. I put a bow and arrow to his head to get him out of my house, he told me. That brings us to the beginning of January of 2017. The situation was out of control, and it was a realization she had finally come to see. Ashley said she reached out and told her family that she had a real drug problem, one she knew she needed help with. It was around the end of 2016, Ashley had begun using a syringe to inject herself with meth in order to get high. This was a turning point for her. She said, I reached out to my entire family. I was scared and desperate. I even made a public post on Facebook asking for help because I knew I needed to go to rehab. A cousin in Michigan responded, and it was this cousin that actually bought her plane ticket to travel to Florida. In Florida, she attended a drug rehab known as Beauty of Ashes, sponsored by the Red Cross, located in Panama City. This was a 6-month program, 3 months of 24-hour treatment, and then 3 months of a work program where she could leave and return while holding a job. In Florida, Ashley worked full-time at the Panama City Retirement Hospital. Ashley states, Florida was the way out and my way to get back on track, and that's exactly what I did.
I'm going to step away for 2 seconds, but I'll be right back. I have it queued up with your opinion there, comments in red.
No problem under your scars. I do that a lot. Actually, I listen all the time when I'm at work. It was stated in an Open Secrets segment that Garrett made the claims that Ashley didn't go to rehab in Florida. She lived on the beach. Well, Ashley did not live on the beach or continue to do drugs, as Garrett Curts continuously states in his interviews with Open Secrets. Ashley did want that to be known publicly, that was a flat-out lie. There was a time that Ashley returned home to visit in Delphi. and states, I got myself in trouble running with the same old, and I shoplifted like an idiot. I even had money in my purse, but I did a stupid thing and I regret it. Along other stupid mistakes, I knew better. Ashley then returned to Florida, but was financially struggling and missing her son and family. Returning to Delphi was really the only choice and where she had the support. I don't know if he's able to scroll. Ashley returned to Delphi, Indiana. She thinks around June of 2018. Since she had come to visit a couple of times throughout that time, the exact month is up for debate. Ashley is certain it was around the summertime. And after returning to Delphi, Ashley began renting from her mom and stepdad. Garrett was back in her life after he got out of work release and living in the house. And I'll never forget this conversation. I was sitting on my back patio and taking notes while I was talking to her, and she was crying. And I started crying because it was just heart-wrenching, when you hear things like this and, someone who just found themselves in what they thought was a trapped situation. But she says the decision to reunite with Garrett after all the hard work she had put to get her life on track is one of the biggest mistakes of her life, Ashley states, through her tears during a phone call in July from the Indiana Women's Prison. So it's important to note that when Ashley came back, she came back in 2018. So I want to just point out again that the Delphi murders happened February 13th of 2017. Ashley did not even live in Indiana at that time. And I will, just on a side note, make it a point that there is, her family has a very heartfelt connection to the Delphi case. And Ashley has cried to me. I've relayed to her the updates in the case that's going on right now, and she's cried. She says, "Oh my God," oh my God. She just can't believe everything that's transpiring and what the families are going through. But she didn't live in Indiana at the time, so the connection is not there. It never was there. But there was a significant amount of pressure put on her behind the scenes, publicly and through law enforcement, because they were desperate to make an arrest. And she took the brunt of all of that. And looking back now, she knows that, but she feels, and I feel, and a lot of people feel that it did cost her in this case a great deal, in her own case. Old habits die hard, and Ashley returned to using meth by the end of September of 2018. Ashley returned to using the needle because smoking meth did not get her high the way using the needle did. The abuse had started all over again. In October 2018, by Halloween, Ashley could be seen on Facebook sporting 2 black eyes and both of her lips busted. November through December was more of the same. Only now it was clear Garrett was too far out of control and doing things even more brazen. It was around the beginning of January when a bunch of people, including Ashley, were at a guy named Russell Stout's house. Russell lived on Hodges Road. Hodges Road is going to become very important. Russell lived on Hodges Road next door to a guy named Jason Palladino, who will become an important focus in this story. More information and episodes will be shared regarding Palladino and Stout. While at Russell's, Ashley met a girl named Nicole Bowen. This was Ashley's first time ever meeting Nicole or hearing her name. Ashley remembers this clearly because Nicole was with a guy who just happened to be the father of Ashley's sister's child. To Ashley's knowledge at the time, this was the first time Garrett had ever met Nicole Bowen as well. At least this is how it was made out to be at the time while at Russell's. And it has become clear based on my research and the review of interrogation videos, this was not the first time Garrett and Nicole had met. They actually had met while in jail and through work release. But it was this encounter at Russell's where they secretly exchanged numbers and began seeing each other. Garrett states in his first police interrogation interview that he had pretended to not know Nicole in front of Ashley. And I wanted to leave it there because going forward takes us into the events, the strangulation that happened in January of 2019. And I think that's enough for everyone to ponder at the moment. And it is a lot. Hi, Dawn. You'll probably want to watch the replay of this because we just went over a lot. So, Travis?
One thing, so I stopped the sharing of the document and it was all caught up. But do we know the precise month or day that she moved back from Florida to Indiana?
I'm working on tracking that down. I have she actually has given me full access to her Google Drive. And because it's been so inactive, and it's taken me a while to figure it out, and I have to be careful while using it because that account is actually still active on her son's iPad that he uses. So I've had to work with him because I'm in another state. So, when you're logging in from a foreign device, you get that, code, and he's in school. So we've had to go back and forth, and I have been able to access it. And that's where, I sent you some new documents that I got from there, Travis. But I'm trying to track that down. Ashley says she knows that it's in the summer, and from what we've been able to, it's been 4 years ago. And those were months and months prior to the events in her life that are probably embedded forever. So she knows that it was in the summertime and that her mom and stepdad were moving out of the house that they had currently been living into. And that is when she moved in and started renting it. That is why when the events that happened in January transpired and Garrett was arrested, her parents still had belongings in the home that they were retrieving. And that is why Kevin was actually at Ashley's retrieving those items when Garrett came through the back door and violated the restraining order. They were there to pick up items that they had not moved when they moved out. So I know that it was around summer, the exact date. I don't know if I can get that precise, but I'm working on it. But I know that she had stated that Garrett was in jail and was getting ready or was in work release. And they had communicated a little while during that time. And so, of course, he's, and Ashley will tell you that, originally before, when Garrett wasn't doing drugs, she was, she said that he was decent to her, but he was spiraling once he got back at it. She said every time he got out, he would spiral even and worse. And the time gaps that they weren't together, he was running around with people that she didn't know. That's why when the March 29th incident happened, she found herself in someone's house that she didn't know. These were all people that she had never met and people that Garrett had been running with when they had not been together since January 21st of 2019. So I'm working very hard.
Months and months after the Delphi murders.
But yes, she had moved to Florida in, I'll have to go back and look at that. It was in I believe it was in January of 2017. So she had just moved the month before. But what's interesting about the whole Garrett Curts and the Delphi situation is that, and if you're not familiar with the case, there's a bridge, it's the Monon High Bridge, that is at the end of a hiking trail that the girls were on. It was a day they had off school. They had walked through the trails and went out on the bridge. And I guess, in Delphi, there's not a whole lot to do. The bridge was something that the younger kids, I believe, got a kick out of going out and, walking across it because it was so high and scary. And it was a beautiful place. They took pictures and whatnot. And when you get to the other side of the bridge, the trail ends, and it actually ends onto private property. But there is a couple of hills that go down an embankment that lead to a river. And the girls were found across the river up on an embankment that was the back of a man by the name of Ron Logan. And he owned a farm. Well, Garrett's dad grew up friends with Ron Logan, and Garrett worked for Ron Logan on his farm over the course of the years. Garrett was familiar with the bridge, and it was such a peculiar place for the girls to be found in February to cross that river or that creek. And at the time, I think it might have been about 3 feet deep, and it was cold. It was a warmer day, in February, but the water's still freezing. And the girls were found the next day on the other side of that water. And for those of you who are not familiar with the case, when the girls were on the bridge taking pictures, Libby German had actually snapped a snapshot picture of Abby walking across the bridge. And Libby had posted that to her Snapchat, I believe around 2:13, 2:15 in the afternoon. And it was around, I believe, 3:00 that Libby's dad showed up to pick them up, and the girls could not be found. Once the girls were found the following day, Libby's phone had a video that had been taken of a man approaching them on the bridge. And the picture is so pixelated that you can make out he's wearing a jacket and a pair of jeans, but he has a hood, a hat on, and he looks like he's got quite a bit of layers on. And there's a short video clip of him walking towards them. And then on the audio on her phone, you hear a voice that says, "Guys, down the hill." And that's all that we know. And it's been speculated that in April of 2019, so Nicole Bowen was murdered March 29th of 2019. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Ray Hainish case, 16 days before Garrett murdered Nicole, he had murdered a guy by the name of Ray Hainish. And Ray Hainish, his murder had really not come to light until I think right around the beginning of April. But from 2017 until April of 2019, all we had to go on in the Delphi case was the timeline, where the girls were found, and that video and audio. So everyone in everyone's eyes looked like Bridge Guy. Everybody was looking for Bridge Guy. Well, there was a sketch that had came out after the murders of a man that looked to be around in his late 30s, maybe early 40s. Well, I believe it was April 22nd, a couple of weeks after the arrest in the Nicole Bowen murder, that for the first time in a long time, the Indiana State Police came out with a press conference. And it was a very intense press conference. And this is when they had originally only released the image of the man on the bridge and the audio. But it was at this press conference that they claimed they were going in a new direction in the case. And they released a few seconds of footage of the man actually taking steps on the bridge instead of it just being a still shot, along with the audio. And then they released a brand new sketch of a guy who looked way younger than the original sketch. And to be flat out honest, he did resemble Garrett Curts. So when you put all of that together and the fact that his girlfriend lived in Delphi, so obviously Garrett's in Delphi running amok. He knows Ron Logan. He's familiar with the bridge. He's familiar with the property. what are the chances that this guy has now killed 2 people in a matter of a month? And there would be all these coincidental connections to the Delphi murders. That's where it started in this case. So the pressure was on. And the information that I have, and I know at one point this is all going to come out, but I know that Garrett was fully in belief that he was going to be charged in the Delphi murders. And I believe that he was being told that Ashley was pointing the finger directly at him. And that was what set him off, that, well, she helped me kill Nicole. And there are so many twists and turns in Ashley's case, just like there is in the Delphi case, and a lot of cases probably. But for me and for her, that's what we believe did it. And the police really were not taking no for an answer. There were interrogations, there were depositions, there were additional, there were lie detector tests that were taken and recorded that attorneys had to step in and stop because they were being unrealistic when they're being told, I don't know anything, and they're not taking that as the answer. That's when plea bargains started to be offered and then pulled, and it just went on from there. And then you take a case like this with 5 co-defendants, and with jury selection and everything involved, you compile it into a 5-day event. There is a lot of truth that was not told in all of this, and I think I've just gone down the rabbit holes in every direction, and every direction that Ashley has pointed me in, things that you would go, well, how in the hell am I going to find this person who's going to be able to tell me this or confirm? And I've done it. I have actually done it. There's quite a bit. Garrett had put Ashley in the hospital on March 25th of 2019, the same week that Nicole was killed. And when she was arrested, she was actually in the county jail for almost 6 months until her family bonded her out to fight her case. And so for the 6 months that she was in jail, she had no access to anything. Not to mention, because of the fear of Garrett and the harassment of Garrett, slashing the tires, him breaking in and strangling her unconscious multiple times. When this all transpired in March, she was actually in the process of moving into her grandmother's house when the police showed up at her door looking for Garrett in connection with Ray's case. And that is how Garrett ended up showing back up at her house, because she had reached out to him through Facebook, letting him know, hey, the police are here looking for you. And not to mention, all of your stuff that was at my house is in the garage, and you need to pick it up or it's going to be pretty much set out on the street. He shows up shortly after that. I don't believe it was the same day. And that's when the fight ensued, and he actually put her in the hospital and took her to the hospital. And when he took her to the hospital, he lied and said that she had been in an ATV accident the day before. And Ashley doesn't have an answer as to why she sat there looking stupid in the hospital and not speaking up. And she says now, she said, at that point, I was like, F it. Like, he has gotten away with everything under the sun. He can do anything. He gets out. He strangles me damn near to death. They let him out within a week and a half. He violates the restraining order. They let him out the same day. She couldn't breathe. He even tells the hospital staff that he performed CPR on her. And I actually was just able to get those actual medical records from that date. And it's like 31 pages long. So we have that documentation, but it's been things like that the roads that I've traveled down, the people that I've spoken to, that I've gotten full blown stories on their interaction that week with Garrett or with Garrett and Ashley. That's really compelling in this case. That needs to be told, and it needs to come out, because what she went through. And I'm not taking anything at all away from the victims in either case, but I fully believe Ashley was a victim as well. And I think that when you, or I can say I know for a fact that when someone is in a relationship that abusive, they don't seek help. And my sister was one of them. And my sister lost her life in 2007. In a domestic violence situation that had been going on for years, that me and my brother and my mother could not get her out of. And we never got justice in that case. And I understand because I've watched it firsthand. And so I believe that Ashley was a victim. And Garrett or Travis, I don't know what your opinion is now that you've seen everything that we've put together, but what is your take on what you've seen and where this is all going?
Well, when you said that Garrett's father knew that landowner, it reminded me, and that Garrett was out at that ranch or farm, whatever it was, with the horses, reminded me just how much the various YouTube channels were just desperately trying to make some sort of connection there, to break the case in some way. And but when you go back and look at it hindsight with this other arrest, it's it's clear they're just fishing and grasping at straws. And I just think it was very unfortunate, bad timing for Ashley, for that thing to come out. That you mentioned, the state police news conference where they said that they were going in a new direction, and of course everybody's speculating what that was. It's turned out to be they were completely wrong.
But
what if some of these, I don't mean to single any particular one out, but what if these YouTube channels that were focused on Delphi murders at the time, around Ashley's murder and these, not Ashley's murder, Nicole's murder. What are they're doing all of this fishing, and especially in the jail interviews of Garrett, they would keep saying, "Oh, well, they've come out with this press conference that it's they're taking a whole new direction." And of course they'd say things like, people are speculating that it means they're looking at you. Like I said, I don't think anybody's speculating that except you. Why can't you just say, well, I think it means they're looking at you? It's always people.
Well, I do know that he was interviewed multiple times by ISP. Him and Ashley both were taken to the ISP post to do lie detector tests in regards to the Delphi case. And Ashley even gave a deposition on, if she had any knowledge. And, Garrett really screwed himself for probably the millionth time by trying to implicate And I mean, you see even now him implicating other people. He's still doing that. Anytime someone crosses him, he's very good at throwing a dagger like, oh, well, I have information that this person knew this person. And I find it very hysterical that some of the same accusations and comments that he's made in Open Secrets, he's repeated again, but used in a different way by perpetrating somebody else as being the culprit. You know, he said that that Ashley had told him.
What did these YouTube channels, now that there's an arrest and the stuff's come out, and they're just the stuff that they're speculating on, I mean, they were just so far wrong. I mean, just
they've moved on.
They've moved had on. It wrong. What are they saying now?
Well, everybody still believes that Ashley is guilty as hell, and that Ashley is exactly what Garrett Curts said she was. And, you know, based on the trial and
no, what are they saying about the Delphi case? That, you know,
the Delphi case now?
That they thought, you know, they had these theories about, oh, well, you know, it's Garrett. There's this connection with this property because his dad knew the guy and Garrett knew the guy. And
there's so much in this case. And I think that you have to go back. For me, I mean, my eyes are wide open because I have really, I mean, I have personal thoughts on the case, but I think what has happened in this case is that for years, the secrecy surrounding the Delphi case and the intensity that law enforcement emphasized on this case has tentacles. This case is they wanted the public to understand that they made the public believe, I believe, based on what law enforcement has stated in their behavior, that this case was exactly now what it has turned out to be, something so unimaginable that, you know, as if the murders of these two young girls aren't unimaginable enough. But it's been sensationalized. And when Richard Allen was arrested, they stood at the press conference, and, you know, there's always been a common statement in the community and with the police and the families is today is the day. Every day, Becky Patty, Liberty German's grandmother, posts on her Facebook page, today is the day, meaning today is the day that the bridge guy is going to be caught. Well, at that press conference, Doug Carter, the ISP superintendent, stated, you know, today is the day, but today is not the day that we are going to divulge the details of this case. And they then went on to say that the case is still an open investigation because there is a high probability that there are other people involved. And now here we are with this 136-page memorandum that the defense produced, requesting a Frank's motion, with all of this back layering of information that they're claiming has been held by the prosecution, and all of this odinist and all of these ritualistic things that were supposed to have transpired. People are going crazy. And now there are leaks in the case. There are crime scene photos that have been leaked out. And it is just spiraling out of control. And I think that's why in the justice system, across the country, the justice system needs to get it together. And in this day and age, they need to understand that if the community, if the law enforcement in their communities are not transparent and they don't share factual information, you will have people out there digging in every area that they can find. And that's where the speculation, the misinformation, the rumors and the lies start to just fester. And then real people's lives get ruined. I mean, that's my take on where things are right now. And I think that you've got a lot of people who believe that Ron Logan is actually the suspect on the bridge. You've got people who still believe that Keegan Klein and possibly his father, Tony Klein, are still involved some way, shape, or form with the catfishing side to this case. I think some people believe that Rick Allen is the lone wolf, and I believe that there are people out there who believe that Rick Allen did this along with others. It is something that we will not know until this case concludes. And at this point in time, I don't know if we are ever going to see it make it to trial. If this defense team made a, unreversible error by leaking out information. So.
Yeah, I saw that. So yeah, that raises a lot of questions about every state's different on what the media can obtain.
Well, I think
prior to
when
the trial and during the investigation, but
well, I mean, it was. It wasn't even until really, I would say within the last year that it's been actually confirmed how the girls died. I mean, that everything about this was kept quiet. And in all actuality, in such a small community, if they would have been a little bit more giving of just a little information and what they were looking for, I think the community could have helped more versus the fact that this person that they arrested literally lived right there by the bridge and worked at the CVS in town. I mean, that's my opinion on it. I understand that there are some things, especially in this case, there's so much here. And if the crime scene described is the way that it was, there was plenty of information to withhold from the public to get to the right person who committed these crimes. And at the end of the day, I feel absolutely sick for these families that they've gone through enough. And I just can't imagine. I can't even put myself in their shoes.
Yeah. That's just interesting. Every state's different on how much, like Florida, they call theirs the sunshine law. You get an awful lot. I was astonished how much the media had access to pre-trial.
Right.
And, I have a different take on it. Because when
I know
you're
you always
representing people in court, you just don't want all of that stuff out there. And
right.
Because then you're having to battle how the media interprets it. And, then you have to get a narrative out. And it's just, it's very, very difficult. I prefer everything is clamped down until there's an arrest and a trial, and then
yes,
the media wants to get it afterwards. Otherwise, you're being tried in the press. And
right. Under Your Scars said Richard admitted he was there wearing the same stuff and found it in his home. It's a horrible case. Yeah, he did. Richard Allen did admit that he was there. He actually was in a day or so, and I think it was even before. I think it was before the audio or video came out. Or maybe it was after. I'm not sure. That case has been such a long case that he went to a conservation officer and stated that he was there and that he was on the bridge on the first platform fish watching. So, and somehow that statement that was taken in February of 2017, within a day or two of the murders, somehow got misfiled. And yes, there is a bullet that was found at the crime scene that had been chambered in the Sig Sauer that Richard Allen owns. And I guess there are tool markings on the bullet that match his weapon. But we don't know what else they have. There's an excessive amount he had an excessive large amount of a knife collection at his home. He had an excessive, the amount of electronics they took out of his home off of the search warrant was, I don't know what he was doing. He had an ungodly amount of electronics. So if they have information, they've kept that under wraps, which is a good thing. But this information that the defense came out with, there seems to be some meat on the bone in certain areas of it. We won't know until, I guess if the judge rules that there will be a Franks hearing. I think first and foremost, they're going to deal with this leak that just happened and how that happened, and an individual who got documents. I believe it was confirmed over this weekend has committed suicide. And that, I think, is going to be addressed this week immediately by the judge. So
yeah, I saw that. Interesting to see how that turns out. Some are saying, it's going to be a huge thing. It's happened in many, many, many cases before. And again, there's a whole range of things across the states on what the public or the media is allowed to get in terms of an autopsy report. Surprisingly enough, there's only about 10 states, I think, last time I looked, that actually have a specific statute on crime scene photos.
Mm-hmm. Hang on, Travis, hang on 1 second. Under your scars, the person who, I do not know his name. I don't believe unless you know where to look. But from my understanding is the defense, one of the attorneys on the defense had a past attorney that was a part of his law firm. And I don't know if he brought that attorney back in as a consultant on the case, but I believe there was a file of discovery of evidence that was shared with an attorney that through that attorney, I believe it was leaked to someone else. And that leak then, it spiraled out of control. Things were shared and some things were made public that shouldn't have been. And that individual who is responsible has taken his own life. So I don't know the name, but I believe it's all going to be addressed this week. And I know that the original hearing in this case was supposed to be on television, but I don't know now if the judge is going to allow that now that the circumstances of what this hearing is going to be dealing with is about. Yeah, I believe there was an entire file that was sent and I believe it was accidental. So sorry, Travis, go ahead. You were talking about the states and the crime scene photos and how different states handle those.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think that, I don't think that the crime scene photos really should ever come out other than in a courtroom. And even then, these are two young little girls. So, well, we've been on here now for quite a while, and we have a small little group of people. So anybody who wants to watch the replay and listen to what we discussed tonight, going forward, though, I'm going to be doing lives on here. And I've spoke with Jack today, and we will be doing an episode 3 on foul play. I know that Jack has been really tied up with some things over there on that side. So, and then obviously, Travis, I desperately rely on your guidance and, what I should be talking about and what I shouldn't be talking about, because I do have quite a bit. And I want to make sure that I don't jeopardize, first and foremost, I don't want to jeopardize her case right now, because I do believe that she's got a really strong leg to stand on right now. But at the same time, we may find ourselves in need of additional legal help. And, no one knows of people in Ashley's position unless they know. And that's why I feel the need to go public with some of this information and discuss it. And I feel that, in this case, true justice needs to be served. And I know personally, when I followed the Nicole Bowen case, I was left at the end of it like, what? Wait, what? There's 5 people in this trailer. It's a 900 square foot trailer. And these people are saying they saw nothing, knew nothing, did nothing, went to bed. You walk in someone's house that you don't even know, and I went straight to the bathroom and then went to bed. I didn't buy it. And I felt, after all that was said and done, and some time had gone by, and still, heavily following the Delphi case, I thought, maybe Ashley would be willing to speak to me. And here we are.
Well, I think, it's important for people to know more about Ashley, and you did a really good job tonight laying out her background and, what her issues were, and which we all have, and how those might relate or not relate. And then, I think it's good for people to know kind of the circus atmosphere this other case was undergoing. And this is just one county over, an hour away from Delphi, right?
Right. Yeah. And, there's a lot more background there, and I think, I'm trying to play an even field here, because, Ashley will even say, you're not going to try to toot my horn, are you? And I said, no. I said, everybody, no one is walking around on this earth with angel wings. Your faults are your faults, and being honest about them only shows that you're genuine. And, I sent you, Travis, her list that she sent me. And I have a couple other ones of things that she's done throughout her life that, Ashley is a good person. She did for the most part live a normal life. And this whole situation has been, it's been an upheaving of everyone's life involved, and it's not fair. And sometimes things in life aren't fair, but if I can help her and bring justice to a situation that I feel needs justice, I'm going to do the best that I can do. But there's a lot of things about Ashley that I could have gone into great detail about, but I wanted to touch base, and I wanted to keep it even and fair. And, pointing out her good qualities and pointing out her bad qualities is, I think, fair research,
Well, it's certainly very detailed. I think that's all I had to say for this first segment. Looking forward to the next part.
Okay. Well, everybody that's in here right now, thanks for coming on. And, if you want to learn more and want to get notified, hit like and subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. It just helps us spread the word and, make more people aware of situations like this, because she's not the only one. And there are people out there to this day who don't have help, who are sitting in prison pretty much for the rest of their life, thinking that that's what it's going to be. So I appreciate all of you for joining us. And Travis, of course, appreciate you. I know you're on vacation, so I don't want to keep you. But if you want to hop into Discord real quick, we can do that and figure out what we're going to do about these other documents that we need to go after and If not, we can do it tomorrow or another day.
No,
So-
yeah, pop over there, and I got someone else joining us over there too, and I'll see you over there. Thanks everybody, and chat for joining, and see you all soon.
All right. Bye, you guys.